All right. Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Kendra Shoemaker. I'm a fourth grade teacher, and I'm also the Kaneland Education Association, or KEA president. I want to welcome and thank the audience and members of the press here at Harder, and also welcome to the audience at home tuning in for our school board candidate forum. Thank you also to the candidates for coming out tonight. Before we get started, I wanted to take a moment to introduce the members of the KEA and the Citizen Advisory Committee, the CAC, that work together to put on this event. I've already introduced myself, but would like to introduce Okay, that's better. Patty Reeder from KEA. And from CAC, Scott Stallcup, Tonya Grossinger, Chris Bateman, and Jake Hill. So thank you to them for all of their work for tonight's event as well. Chris Bateman will also serve as the moderator and Jake Hill as timekeeper. I'd also like to thank Dr. Layden and the rest of the district for organizing the space for the event, making sure it was live streamed and recorded, and for their support in bringing the candidates together this evening. Explaining the format for the forum. So in a moment, each candidate will have a maximum of 3 minutes to provide a brief opening statement. For the question section of the night, the moderator will ask the questions. Every candidate will be asked the same question, beginning with a different person each time. Each candidate will have a maximum of 2 minutes to answer the question. The committee has compiled a list of questions, but as I stated earlier, we do have the opportunity for audience members to ask those questions. So feel free to write them on the note cards and deliver them up there to the yellow bin. Members of the committee will look through the questions, and if any have been repeated or the same themes, they'll kind of keep those together. We have dedicated approximately 60 minutes for the question section, but again, we know the forum goes until 8:30, so we'll kind of play it by ear there. So again, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you, candidates, and good luck. And I will pass it over to Chris, our moderator.
Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Bateman. I am a member of the CAC, and I am from Elburn. I will be your moderator for tonight. So just a couple housekeeping things. As Kendra mentioned, each of the candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. Jake will hold up a yellow pad when there is 30 seconds remaining, just for an indicator. If you do end up at the time limit, we ask that you please just wrap up as quickly as possible. Also, just to clarify, this is a candidate forum. This is not a debate, so we're not going to be arguing about anything. We're simply going to be answering questions back and forth. We will start with introductions from each person, and then I'll begin with some questions. The questions are categorized into 3 different sections. One will be around qualifications, experience, and motivation. The second area will be board responsibility, behavior, and interaction. And the third category is policy, vision, opinion, or district betterment. So we'll ask from each of those different categories, and we'll be including the questions that we get from the audience as we get those. As we go through each question, we will just cycle through with who starts first each time. So at this time, we'll go ahead and start with introductions. Again, please try and keep it to 3 minutes, and we will start with Ryan.
Of course, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ryan Kleisner. I am a resident of Elburn. I'm married to a beautiful woman, Ashley, over there. I have 2 students in the District 302. My son is 7. He's a first grader at John Stewart, and my daughter is a freshman over at the high school. I have a lot of passion about my kids. I have a lot of passion about understanding what's going on in their lives. I have a lot of passion to be a part of it in a different way. And so when this opportunity came up, I really kind of jumped at it with a strong nudge from my beautiful wife. I work in manufacturing. I'm not an educator. I did go to college. I made it through college in almost 7 years. I'm not a doctor. You know, I went through high school. I played sports. I really enjoyed school personally. I want to see the same for my kids. I want to understand what's going on. Like I said, I'm a resident of Elburn. I'm a taxpayer. my political qualifications or understanding of, of how this all goes. This is new to me, which is really exciting. I think that being a part of this as kind of a layman to see a different perspective of it is going to be what's going to benefit me the most. I have a hunger to learn new things. And in the past couple of months, once we made this decision, the amount that I've already learned has been amazing. And I look forward to being a support to not only our children, but the staff, the faculty, the teachers, and the rest of the community. The transparency is one of the biggest things, and I just want to know more of what's going on in the schools, and I think a lot of the parents are the same way, at least the people that I've talked to. So the most important thing to me are the kids and their education. What are we going to do to make sure that they're equipped in a right position to move on to the next stage of their life? If it's from elementary to middle to high school to college, or whatever vocational school, or you're just getting into life and career. I want to be a part of that, and I want to make a positive impact and be collaborative. The big thing of transparency and safety with these children. And then fiscal responsibility is the other big thing too. I'm a big proponent of the acronym HOW: honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. And that's what I can bring to the table and be a part of that. Like I said, I'm a layman. I got a lot to learn, and I'm really looking forward to being a part of all of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Edmund?
Hello, my name is Edmund Cook. I'm a 19-year-old college student from the University of Illinois. I'm a write-in candidate for the school board in this upcoming election. I've lived my entire life in Sugar Grove, and I've loved it. I love the community. I love everyone who lives here, and I love to see it grow and continue in a positive direction. I'm running for many different reasons, but one of them is that I believe there's room on the school board for someone who has gone to Kaneland. I attended this school I attended the district for 9 years, and knows what an education is in the 21st century and in the information age. Education is constantly evolving. We're always using new Chromebooks or iPads or whatnot, and I experienced that. During school, I was using all that. And I believe that I can bring a perspective from a student to help the students learn and have meaningful direction in their education. And so to make sure that the district moves in purposeful ways and that the students will get real positive impact from it, and not maybe just a measure that sounds good, but in implementation, it might not be the best, but I'll make sure to overlook, and for the betterment of the education. I'm a strong proponent of the mission statement in Kaneland. I strongly believe in all of it, and I want to make sure and ensure and mold the district in a way where every boy and girl who graduate from the district are a model citizen and are proud of their Kaneland education. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Edmund. Aaron?
Great. Good evening. My name is Aaron McCauley. My family and I have lived in Elburn for about 8.5 years. I am married with 4 children, 3 of which are currently enrolled in the Kaneland School District. I have 2 bachelor degrees, one in journalism and communications, the other is in history. I recently retired from the military last year. I'm an Army veteran. In my spare time, I enjoy woodworking, coaching both soccer and baseball for my boys. I'm running for school board to safeguard the education, the mental health and well-being of my children and all the students in the Kaneland School District. I feel students are to be treated equally and fairly at all times. All students should have the same opportunity to succeed academically and not be restricted by a standards-based grading system. Hard work and exceptional effort should be praised and not diminished in an effort for all students to be in the box of mediocrity. Schoolwork and testing should be prioritized and not downplayed by giving students unlimited opportunities to make up work or to retake exams. We are doing them a disservice as parents if we think this prepares them for success later in life. I will fight for the rights of parents to choose. Parents should have the greatest influence on the district's education system and future decisions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Aaron. All right, we're going to jump right in with a big question, kind of on the forefront of everyone's mind right now. As I'm sure you're all aware, there is a referendum coming up for a vote. What are your thoughts on the proposed referendum? And what experience do you have with budgeting? And how would you plan to budget differently for the future advancement of Kaneland? And Edmund, we'll start with you.
Well, the referendum is not up to my discretion. The school board doesn't have a vote on it. I agree with all the tenets in it, and I believe it will be implemented well, hopefully through the next school board. I do not have much experience with budgeting, unfortunately. I've been treasurer for many clubs in high school and college, but I would be remiss to say that that would lead up to budgeting at a district level. In the future, apologies, could you repeat the question? In the future,
How would you plan to budget differently in the future?
okay, plan to budget differently. More for in the infrastructure for the schools. In the high school, I believe the bathrooms, I like them a lot. There's a lot of infrastructure that's needed, and budgeting towards more athletic events, the uniforms and everything, that really gives pride in everyone when they wear something that says Kaneland across their chest, and that they feel good, they do well, and they do well in school. School supplies, another great way to make sure that teachers don't have to pay for their own school supplies, and that it's all given to the kids, and that kids who may not be as fortunate are granted all that they need for their education.
Thank you. Aaron?
Okay. As far as supporting it, yes, I do, but not all of it. I do have a background in finance. I was in the mortgage banking industry for 7+ years. I am the budgeter of my family, and when I budget, I had a lot of questions about it. There are things that I support and the things I don't. And there's two things that I always question are, what are the needs and what are the wants? As far as an artificial football field, that's a want. That to me is definitely a want. Do we need to spend that money right away? Obviously, structure the building we need. Like was mentioned, bathrooms, hallways. I was talking to my 9th grade son who's attending there right now. He said there's multiple wings in the school that don't have air conditioning. So there's issues with boilers, all sorts of stuff like that. I look at it and I go, why is it getting all lumped together at once? Why are we getting that $57.5 million thrown at us at once? What happened to years prior? Then I go, was there money ever put aside for repairs, expenses? Were we just putting Band-Aids on things? So now it's the sticker shock of, here we go, taxpayers got to pay for it. I, in the future, would literally go item by item and say, okay, what is actually needed that is going to help the students? And as far as the athletics, I'm a big fan of athletics. I played a lot of sports growing up. I'm a fan of a track. I ran track. If the track field needs to be done, great. I just think in the future, moving forward, it would have to be a collaborative effort of all of us looking at it item by item and starting with the needs, putting money aside annually, and then saving for those things that we want.
Great. Thank you. Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the referendum goes, I obviously wasn't a part of the discussions. I did watch those board meetings, and I thought there was a lot of great discussions on different things. I know there was a lot of stuff that was carved out of it. Similar to Aaron, there's some amazing things that absolutely need to be done on there. My daughter's she's a freshman. Bathrooms are kind of dank and gross. There's issues with infrastructure. We know there's roofing issues. We know there's heating and air conditioning issues. All very, very important, I think, to the safety and the ability for our children to learn. So those parts of it I agree with. Also, like Aaron, I love sports. I played football, played baseball, and having a nice field and having all these things, I think is wonderful. I mean, quite frankly, the field that we have is way better than the one I had. At the end of the day, I mean, it's either going to get voted for or against, and I don't know that there's much more I can do about it right now. I do like some of the things that are in there. I think they're vitally important. From a budgeting standpoint, I too am the budgeter of our household. But my job is I'm a manufacturing controller. So my entire job is cost reduction, budgeting, multiple different factories. So I do have a good resume as far as that goes, and it is something that needs to be looked at item by item, and it needs to be scrutinized. And we do have to look at, what are we spending on a yearly basis? Is it just band-aids? When do we have to pull out the big guns and throw out real money and attack all these different things? I know, especially the high school, it's quite old. This harder is beautiful. It's new. It's improved. The high school is definitely not that, and I know there's a lot of things that need to be done there. I just don't know at what point do we need to spend all of the money? Do we need to spend it all in the same things, that are in the referendum right now? But we do have to break it down. We have to discuss and look into these things that, possibly in a different way. But quite frankly, at this point, I don't totally know how the budgeting is going. So until I can see what we're doing from a budget standpoint, I don't know that I can say that what all I would want to change in it. But quite frankly, I'm excited to kind of get into it and get to the nuts and bolts of it all.
Thank you. As a follow-up to this question, aside from finances, what other important issues does Kaneland face in the next 4 years from your perspective? And this time we'll start with Aaron.
Can you say this question one more time, please?
I said, aside from finances, what other important issues does Kaneland face in the next few years?
Okay. It's a great question. I'd have to say, looking at what we went through the past 2 years with the pandemic, I think our students, just from the families that I've talked to, are behind the learning curve. And looking at our indicators of success on the website, I noticed that our numbers have dropped pre-COVID to where we are now. And I think moving forward is students with IEPs that struggled because of mask wearing and other issues with the masks, that we need to pay more attention to that, and we need to focus and bring children up to level. Because when I was looking at the grades from kindergarten up through 8th grade, mostly 6th through 8th, the numbers drop almost dramatically for math and ELA. And I find that not as a success, but as a strong disappointment. And when I went to go get my petitions, I talked to a lot of parents that were struggling. They had issues with their children with the IEPs. I don't think we can move forward and continue because they're at the age where they're at the level that they're at. We might have to take a step back, make sure that they're at the reading level where they need to be, the math level where they need to be, focus on that. But we also have to assist at home because we can't put that burden on the teachers. I know there's over 4,000 students in the district. We don't have enough teachers to support everything that our children need. But I think as parents, we need to be integrated, ask questions, assist. But I think we're going to have to step back a couple years to move forward.
Thank you. Same question, Ryan.
For me, I'm seeing a lot of mental health stuff, especially with my daughter going through the pandemic. And I know anybody's parent who had children going through that, dealing with the masks at school, not knowing some of their friends' faces for a while, or their teachers' faces for that matter. Hybrid learning, I know it played a dramatic role into my daughter's life, especially. And I can't generalize for the rest of the children out there, but it definitely set her back, I think, from an emotional standpoint, from a socialization standpoint. So I think that's some of the struggle that we're going to see in conjunction with, some of the reading issues and the math, the fallback that we've had on our test scores. So that's something that I would highly focus on, is understanding where our kids are at mentally, emotionally in, this entire country. I know the suicide rates have gone up. I mean, this is absolutely something that hits very close to home for me. And it's something that, I take a lot of pride in trying to talk to my kids and understand where they're at from an emotional and mental standpoint. So that's the thing that I might probably be a little bit concerned on from the student level over the next 4 years.
Thank you. Edmund?
I'd say in the next 4 years that I'd like the students to be stimulated and excited to go to school every day. Whatever that means, whether it's new programs being implemented for more niche subjects that kids may be more interested in, whether that's teachers providing more extra work if kids want to explore a field that they might not be able to in other places. I want the children to wake up and feel like they want to go to school. They want to get on the bus. They want to learn. And that craving for learning comes from parents. It also comes from teachers and administration and how they display how learning works. And you need to learn what you like. And the students should be encouraged to go further than they are just the standard. They can't just meet the standard. This district needs to go above and beyond, and I feel like every person has their own, every student has their own niche that they would like to expand on, and we need to bring out the best in every student.
Thank you. All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit. And the next question I am going to give a little preface to. So in the world that we're living in now, we look to diversity inclusion, right? And Kaneland also looks to that as part of what we do, not only in our school district, but just in every aspect of our life. So with diversity and inclusion on the school board, that's also very important to make sure that all different opinions are represented. With that, however, will come times of conflict and disagreement. So what are some of the best ways to address differences of opinion between fellow school board members? Not only just fellow school board members, but also school board members and administrators. And this time, let's start with Aaron.
Having come from the military, you deal with a lot of different personalities. You deal with the non-commissioned officers, you deal with regular officers, and you learn that you have to watch how you speak and you have to be at times politically correct. What I would say as far as how we communicate to each other, I think it's great that we have difference of opinions. I think it's great that we have different views. We're diverse in our character traits, intellect, creative thinking, all different ways. I think it's very important that we can agree to disagree, but we also have to be able to work together in a manner that we get things done. Now, I know with the board, there's going to be a majority. I know there's going to be opinions and things that are going to not make everybody happy. And I realize I'm not going to make change. We all have to come to an agreement. And it's not up to me personally if I say I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. But we have to be able to be in a demeanor that's professional. It's part of the values, even the military values, integrity and respect. That's key. If we don't have that, we don't have a board that's going to work. So that's key. As far as speaking to students, it's the same thing. It's how I talk to my peers, my wife, my kids. Getting into a heated argument is never going to solve anything. I think just the best thing is we put our ideas out on the table, and then it's going to come down to whatever the majority is, that's going to, come to the result. But I'm all about listening to a lot of different ideas and seeing where we can go from there. So.
Thanks, Aaron. Edmund.
I've learned over the years that in any relationship, whether it be a school board and a district or the teachers union or any interaction, that it's not one side versus the other, it's both sides versus the issue. And once you come to that issue and find that you have a common end to that issue, you need to figure out what the means are, and you have to compromise on those means. And through this will need to be done through civil discourse, and in the end will hopefully reflect the views of the community, the parents, the taxpayers, and the students in a way that satisfies or just make sure that everybody's okay with the subject and that it gets done in the end. And obviously, like I said, we cannot have angry yelling or anything. That's just not productive in any situation ever. And so if you just tone it down and figure out what the end is, and you just have to make sure that you come to a compromise on the means.
Thank you. Ryan?
I'm a firm believer in whoever yells loudest should win. Just kidding. So my acronym, again, HOW, is very versatile. Honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. I think grace is one of those great words here. We have to give each other a little bit more grace. I want the opportunity to have a position on something and then hear some more facts or some more data and then be allowed to change my mind. And I think that's one of the biggest things that have been lacking, at least I've seen in my own family relationships and definitely on social media, is that if you think one way and then you want to change your mind because you've gotten more information, you're shunned for that too. So I think the ability to talk about it, and then the ability to allow people to, make an informed decision to change their mind is going to be one of the best ways to do it. It is a collaboration. It's not an I. This is definitely one of those team situations, and being able to discuss it openly, willingly, honestly, and come to, at the end of the day, what's best for the students, what's best for the faculty in the school, and then and the parents. So that's it.
Great, thank you. One of the perks of being the moderator of this is I can go off script a little bit. So with that, I'm going to ask a follow-up question to this. So you all kind of referenced in that last question, understanding the needs of the community. One thing that's come up often and from different community members that I've spoken with is not only access to school board members, but also how school board members are interacting and understanding what's actually happening in the schools versus what policy is dictating is happening in the schools. So as a school board member, how would you work to improve that relationship with the community, but also improve your understanding of how the policies are actually playing out in the classroom day to day? And for this, I will start with Ryan.
No, that's a great question. That's part of kind of, a huge part of why I wanted to run for this is because I want to have more access to what's going on in the schools. I know what we can put on paper, and I know what we can have discussions about and what we say we're going to implement, but how do I know it's actually being implemented? And so that level of transparency for me as a parent and as a member of the community, it hasn't really been there. So that the truth is, I don't really know how we're going to do that at this time. I don't know how it's currently done or if it's done. I think I would love to see more people at board meetings. I would love to see more questions asked from the community. I'll be honest with you. I mean, we're all very hardworking people. We have a lot going on, and spending that extra time to kind of really know what's going on with the kids or going out with the school or reading all the different emails that we get, the amount of access we do have is there. It's just a matter of sitting down and getting into it. So I guess how do we make it a little bit more accessible or easier to want to sit down and go through? It would be, I don't know, maybe if they're all 10-second TikToks and you can burn through it real quick, maybe that's the key. I don't know. But I think that's it's definitely, there's opportunity there that I would love to explore.
Great, thank you. Edmund?
Yes. If I could steal your HOW acronym, the openness and honestness, or honestness and openness, is vital to any community. And if I receive an email with a question, of course I'll respond. If someone voted for me, there's a reason, and I have a commitment to them that I have to make. And as the second part of the question, how I know if policy is actually being enacted versus if it's just on a sheet of paper, I have friends at Kaneland High School. I can pull out my phone, text them, and get a very honest answer. I can ask them, hey, I just read about this. Is this true? And they'll be, not really. And I'll be, okay, I can bring that up. I have open communication with many members in the high school. I'm not friends with middle schoolers, but I have a lot of friends, and I'll make sure that, hey, I heard this mandate. Is that actually happening? And if it is, then sure, yeah. No, I will ensure that everything goes to plan.
Excellent, thank you. Aaron?
My favorite thing to do is to do face-to-face. When I went and got my petitions, I got to speak to a lot of people in my neighborhood, and it was the greatest opportunity to engage and see how their children are doing in school. The joke was I'd tell my wife, hey, I'm getting 2 more signatures. We'll be back in 5. And she's like, see you in an hour. And it literally was an hour. I would literally spend 20 to 30 minutes speaking to a family to find out where they're at in the community, what they're struggling with, what their kids are struggling with. My oldest, I have 3 boys, so I know directly what's going on in the grade school. I know what's going on in high school. My oldest, he plays baseball. The entire baseball team's Kaneland, so we hear through my wife, all the wives. But I am a face-to-face. That is the best way. I'm very open and transparent. I have an open door policy. If you want to email me, great. If you want to knock on my door, as long as it's not dinner or whatever, hey, that's fine. Absolutely. But I do get to see the policy that are being pushed and mandated through my kids and through the community. So face-to-face would probably be the best opportunity. I do pick up my kids quite a bit. and I'm always willing to talk. So
Great, thank you. I'm going to jump to a couple questions from the audience. And a couple of these are questions that were also pre-planned, so clearly these were good questions. One of them is there a particular issue or issues that motivated you to run for the school board? Sorry, I'm trying to tie two things together here. Right, yeah. So is there a particular issue or issues that motivated you to run for the school board, and what is your primary reason or focus for running? Edmund, let's start with you.
I did not attend Kaneland High School. I attended Marmon Academy in Aurora, and I'll be honest, there's a reason for that. One of the main reasons I'm running is because I feel like students are not encouraged to go above and beyond. At least at my time at Kaneland Harding Middle School, we were lulled into the average. I could do a homework assignment and get an A in about 10 minutes of a 45-minute period, and then just kind of sit on my Chromebook and do whatever. And I felt like that wasn't stimulating, and when I woke up to school, I was like, oh, I have to go to school, and I have to go watch YouTube videos on my Chromebook for 7 hours. And I feel like these are issues that the young students are having. A lot of my friends at the time had the same issues. They left to other private schools. And I feel like the students need to be stimulated through perhaps a curriculum change, or maybe a way that we can figure out a way for students to show that they can do more and give them opportunities where they can advance themselves and follow their passions.
Thank you. Ryan.
I mean, for me, it kind of started with some of the jokes and the rumors about, putting litter boxes in the schools for the children that feel like they're cats or dogs or whatever the case may be. And some of it came up with my daughter. She came home and talked about some of the things she was learning in health class I was not aware of was going on. Some of the things that have been said over the years, talked about in classrooms, by certain teachers, kind of pushing a different agenda, their personal opinions on things versus the actual curriculum. So that's kind of really what sparked it for me. It was a little concerning to hear about some of these things, and so it piqued my interest to understand more and become more involved. And I thought this was an amazing opportunity to do that. Like I said, from the beginning is, I'm a layman. I work a lot, and so I felt like I'd been missing some things. And so being a part of this, and then again, not just focused on my own two children, but the community as a whole, is the main motivator for me to be a part of the school board.
Thank you. Aaron.
okay. I think the biggest thing that really got me fired up was about a year ago, when the students were protesting the mask wearing. That really got me focused and fired up, because I was one of the parents that had gone to the school that Monday where they were deemed unconstitutional, that they didn't have to wear them. Then all the school districts were scrambling to rearrange the policy. And I took my son to school that Monday and didn't wear a mask. And long story short, we were all acted professional, or we were all adults, acted decent, respectful to the principal. And it got to the point where he had to call the police. And I'm like, not understanding why it got to that level. My concern was the mental health, the well-being, the impeding of education of my child. And I literally told the principal that day, I said, I am declaring myself for school board. I was like, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. So that got me really fired up. Another thing that really got me fired up is the standards-based grading. I literally text my son and asked him, and hopefully I got time just to tell the three things he said. I asked him what he thought about the problem. He said, if you get one low score, your entire grade is screwed. Excuse me for the language. Number two, he says, if you get a score that's like 1% lower than a 79, it's a 2, even though it would be a C+ for actual grading. 3, he said, it's a lot less rewarding to get a 3 or 4 than to get an 85 or 95%. I then asked him, do you feel it limits you in any way? If so, how? Well, yes, because if you get, say, a 1, your grade cannot go up past a D for the rest of the year, even if you got all 4s for the rest of the year. I struggle with this because I feel it is keeping everybody in a box. It doesn't allow overachievers to get outside that box. And I feel it protects those students that don't want to be in school, that struggle. And I think we need to get back into the grading system of the percentages where we start giving accolades, we start praising kids for what they're doing and not keeping them hindered or putting a red line in front of them.
All right, thank you, Aaron. Next question, also from the audience, and again, I'm going to combine a couple of questions. One, are you being supported financially or otherwise, or endorsed by any outside individuals or groups? And if so, who? And are you interested in being a long-term board member, or is this more of like a one-term shot for you? Let's start with Edmund this time.
Yes. I am not endorsed or financially supported by anyone. I drove here myself. I operate my own Facebook page. I don't think that costs anything. I've not received any endorsements at this moment. And the second part of the question.
Are you interested in being a long-term board member?
I am interested in being a one-term board member at this point. And at this point in my life, I would love to come back in a little bit, but as right now, I can say that this will probably be my one and done term for now. Maybe come back later in about 10 years or so. At my stage, I'm 19. I have to pursue some career. I don't have a career yet. I have to pursue career goals, and they may be outside of this district.
Okay. Aaron?
I'm not being endorsed or financially supported in any way. I would like to do this long term. My youngest is in kindergarten. I would like to stay on the board if possible, all the way up until senior year.
Great, thank you. Brian?
Yeah, I have no endorsements or financial aid from anybody. And same, my son's in first grade, and I plan on hanging out until he gets out of high school.
Great. The next question is another one of the questions that had been prearranged but has also been asked by the audience, and a few of you have touched on it already. Please explain your understanding of standards-based grading, what experience you have had with it, and what your thoughts and opinions are on that. This is a hotly debated topic in the community, and it's something that will come up in many board meetings at different levels. Please also understand that this is a guiding principle for Kaneland at this point, and is a goal of the district. Ryan.
Oh, no, I knew this was coming up, and I talked to my daughter a little bit about it today. She actually got a 1 out of 4 on her summative in math class. I got the email this afternoon, so I had a chance to chat with her about that, and she goes, I felt like I did pretty good on the test, and she didn't do all that terrible in the test, but what led up to the test she struggled with. I asked her if she can explain how everything connects, the different number grades through the course that they're taking within that semester, and how that actually sums up to your final course grade. And she didn't totally understand that. So it wasn't hard. It wasn't clear to me that she fully understood it. I'm learning more and more about it. I'll be the first to admit that I'm not absolutely, completely 100% understanding of it. I'm like most people, where anything that's brand new and completely different from how I was taught, my initial reaction is contempt prior to investigation. That's the truth. I've been doing a little bit more study on it. I see where there's the potential, and I can see the different aspects of tailoring different learning abilities for different students. I do get that. I also have the concern that there is going to be a little bit of a lack of motivation in some of the students that do excel, because they're not going to get the extra accolades and shoot for that A. Now, again, I've talked to a couple different people on it. Is that just kind of a pride thing to get the A+++? Possibly. That was my thing when I was going to school. And that's what I grew up on. So I'm still working through my understanding of it. As far as having an opinion on it, I can't say that I have a full opinion one way or another. I'd love to do more research on it. get different perspectives on it too. I think the one thing that I'm a little concerned about is I know this was rolled out.
10 more seconds.
I'll just stop there then.
Okay. As we can all see, this is a hotly debated topic. Edmund, let's go to you next.
I'm aware of the standard-based grading system. I've never gone through it. I went to school where it's A+, A minus, B+, and that made me strive for the best marks I can. I graduated third in my class. I got a GPA. I worked hard. I learned for that accolade. I made sure I knew all the calculus, all the English, all that. And so through that and through the goals that I was given, and I went and achieved them. And I think these goals are important for children, especially high schoolers, and that we need to look at it, examine it, get meaningful and numerous testimonies from all across the spectrum of grades and from kindergarten to 12th grade, and parents, students, everybody, and see what the consensus is. Because from what I'm hearing, the consensus is against standard-based grading. And maybe that isn't true. Maybe I'm just in a tunnel vision that I can't get out of. But I would like to see more people come out, more students in high school and middle school say what they mean or say what they want and go along with that. If the district needs to reflect the values of the community, and if the values of the community are against standards-based grading systems, then we need to examine it further.
Thank you. Aaron.
And I'll just reiterate what I stated about my ninth grader. We have to look at it as we're not all created intellectually equal. Everybody has a motive. Everybody has a means of critical thinking, creative process. We have our overachievers or underachievers. I'm against the standards-based grading. I am not a fan of it, and I get an earful of it. I just feel it really limits a child's desire to want to stretch outside, to pursue, an accolade like valedictorian or anything like that. I mean, my son stated, the biggest thing is my concern is you get a 1 and your grade cannot go up at past a D for the rest of the year, even if you get all 4s for the rest of the year. Think about that. I mean, if you have the GPA, you have averages and you have means of building on your GPA, and one score isn't going to terribly destroy it, obviously depending on the points of the total of it. But not a fan, but I would love to hear what everybody else thinks about it. And I think it would be a majority vote, or however it would work with the board to keep it or get rid of it. But I also hear on the college side, it's a struggle trying to take that 1, 2, 3, 4 and taking it to the college level, how they're able to assess that. So there's a big divider, a big wall that's kind of blocking what's going on here and what's going on past into the collegiate world. So definitely not a fan.
All right. Next question, a little bit lighter topic. What do you feel are the greatest strengths of the Kaneland School District, and why? And for this, we will start with Aaron.
Strengths. I think one of the greatest strengths is the actual community. Like I said, I've spoke to a lot of parents in the community. I love Elburn. I was born and raised in St. Charles, moved around a lot in the United States. I absolutely love the community, especially with coaching. I coach Elburn baseball, Elburn soccer. I used to play baseball in high school in the summer. I played at Kaneland many, many years ago. It's kind of sad to see that it still looks like the exact same building more than 30 years ago. But I see, the baseball team just won a state championship. So, I mean, it's awesome that sports are a big impact. And I like to see that the community is engaged with the sports, but we're engaged in the academics. But I think the greatest thing about Kaneland, the school, is the community, the parents, and the students themselves.
Thank you. Brian.
Yeah, no, absolutely the community. I love that it stretched it over a couple of different towns. I love that there is the diversity in it all. I love that there's the different opportunities for these kids to have. I mean, there's a lot of programs available. I mean, between sports, I remember my daughter was coming into freshman year and we said, you got to find some extracurricular stuff. And she goes, well, there's nothing to do. And I said, nah, we'll see about that. And I looked through the club list for the high school and it was absolutely amazing to me. I wish I had access to some of these things. I think there is a lot of support in the community. I think we live in a really cool town. We live in a really cool area. It's not quite, suburbs. It's not quite farm town anymore. I think there's just a peace and a joy about it. At least that's what I, have had over the last 7 years of living here. And I think that's one of the biggest attributes because even though we have access to anything you could possibly need, I think there's just this level of freedom in nature out here. And I really appreciate that, and I think my kids appreciate that too, and I think that feeds into our district as a whole.
Thank you. Edmund?
I believe the greatest strength in the district is the parents. When I was a student, I saw parents coach football, baseball, basketball, all through the years, giving up every night to go make sure you win that title or make sure, and they developed better people. They developed better boys and girls, and that they molded them into great students. Again, like backing off of these, the diversity of the district is amazing. From Montgomery to Maple Park, you have a vast array of experiences that I don't think you really get in many other districts. And this is valuable to the students because they get perspectives of someone living in Montgomery versus someone living in Virgil. They're very different experiences, and you get to see, oh, this is why this is happening. Another great opinion is with that diversity, there also comes a set of core values that I feel like are there's a large consensus over the district about what to believe. And these core values through the diversity make it a special place to learn and grow.
All right, thank you. Next question. What do you believe is the role of a school board member? And let's start with Edmund.
I believe the role of the school board member is it's a checks and balances game to make sure that these students are provided with a fantastic education, to make sure that the taxpayers aren't paying too much, to make sure that the administration is supported by the parents and by the faculty, and that the administration supports the faculty and the students. It's a big circle, and the school board's job is to make sure that circle keeps running and that everybody is on one page, cohesive, communicating together with one another and making sure that everybody has, if not the same ideals, the same ideas of where they want their children to grow up and learn in.
Thank you. Ryan.
I'm just going to ditto that one, if that's all right with everybody. No, I absolutely agree. I think it's, we get to take in all the different thoughts, opinions, and feelings, and get to pull it together and come up with the best possible solution and come up with the right way of moving for our children. It comes down to back to the students at the end of the day. Yes, we got to protect our community. We got to make sure that taxpayers' money is going to the right places and being allocated correctly. Absolutely. The support of the teachers, the admin, everybody. There's got to be that sense of security, and I think as a part of the school board, I get to help provide that. I at least get to be a piece of that, and I think that's one of the most important things is to take in all the different information and boil it down to what is most important and make sure that we're moving in the right direction.
Right. Aaron.
Okay. I feel we are the ambassador to both the students and the parents. I feel that we are the direct communication. If a student has an issue or a parent has an issue, they can come directly to us. Our role is very important as far as hiring, budgeting, and at times, sadly, having to let people go. But I think most importantly, like I used ambassador, we're here to communicate directly to the parents and the students at any time, at any point. But also, like I said, assisting with policies and whatnot. So.
Great. Thank you. The next question, I'm again going to combine a couple of questions and put some information behind it. So at recent CAC meetings, there have been conversations and concerns around the educational rankings that we see on real estate websites, and the fact that the Kaneland district has fallen in recent years from higher ratings to lower ratings. As this has been raised, the conversation has gone to what is happening in neighboring districts and why aren't they having the same impacts? Having said all of that, how do you think Kaneland compares to neighboring school districts, and what do you know of that? And also tying into the indicators of success, what do you think are the next steps to improve our indicators of success here in District 302? Let's start with Edmund.
First of all, the real estate rankings for education, I'm not sure where they get those from. I'm not sure which analytics they use. I don't know if sports are more important and maybe a different district, maybe Batavia's better at football. What does that matter for an education for a kid? So I'm not sure what analytics they're using or how they're saying that Kaneland has dropped in any ways. But I feel that Kaneland district squares up well with districts around us. I have friends at Batavia and I have friends at West Aurora and all those schools. Kaneland stands up very well to those. And I feel like the district is doing a fine job for the area. And we have the opportunity to make this one of the best districts in the area. And I hope through the next school board that we can jump to maybe one of the premier districts in all King County. And I feel like we have the community, we have the values in which we can further that.
Thank you. Aaron.
Okay. It's an interesting question because when my wife and when we moved to Elburn 8.5 years ago, and looking at a multitude of homes, we always looked at the school district. That was always tops because we had 2 kids at the time. We knew we were going to enroll them, so we wanted to make sure that they had a good education. I came from St. Charles. I graduated St. Charles East. St. Charles has money. Their education system has always been pretty good. Their scores have been high. Again, I don't know what is an indicator, but I would have to say the scores are. But again, if you go back to our website, you look at the indicators of success, that portion, all those graphs and charts, I have to be honest, it's frustrating when you look at that because you go there and you go, wow, look at these scores are low. Do I want to enroll my child here? Do I want to do homeschooling? What is the reason, was it 17.5% of 8th graders have passed Algebra 1? Why is that? That to me is a red flag. I have more questions. Is the whole 8th grade taking that? Why are the scores low? Why is 6th grade, the scores high and then it drops off dramatically 7th and 8th grade? What's going on? So that to me is a key indicator that I'm going to look at if I'm moving into the district. Again, what's going to bring that up is the scores, but again, we have to step backwards before we can move forward. So,
thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm again. I didn't look too much at school systems when we moved out here. It was something that I went to some good schools. I went to some poor schools. Really, it was on me I had to drive to want to do good in school. So, I mean, that's always been my thought process. And I can only speak for myself on that part. As far as, where they're getting the rankings, it's got to be based on test scores and everything. And, to comparable districts and districts near us, I don't know what the actual difference might be. I think it's definitely something that we need to look into and to understand, because what's so much different about, Elburn, Montgomery, Sugar Grove, Maple Park, versus, DeKalb district or, something in St. Charles. I don't really know what would be different. We could hang it on COVID, but everybody went through that, right? There's a lot of similarities in trials, tribulations that all school districts have gone through. So I personally, at this time, I don't have enough knowledge to have an answer to what we need to do moving forward to increase those scores.
All right, thank you. I'm going to jump back to a question from the audience regarding the referendum. So the referendum as it stands now is pertaining to improvements at the high school. However, part of the high school and a huge advantage to Kaneland is the Fox Valley Career Center. At this point in time, the referendum does not allow for any advancements or improvements at that, nor does it include the much anticipated field house for the high school. Can you share your opinions and thoughts on how not only should the your thoughts and opinions on whether the referendum should include something for either of those items, and how you think particularly Fox Valley Career Center plays into the importance of Kaneland and the Kaneland High School? Aaron, let's start with you.
Okay. Yeah, this is a great question. My ninth grader, he's actually involved in the Fox Valley Career Center. He's doing welding and going into auto mechanics. I do feel, and I've heard other people mention that their spouses and nephews and other relatives have gone through the program. I think is an excellent program for those that don't want to go to college, pursue a degree, but want to pursue the trades. I am a huge fan of taking funds and putting that into that system. I just heard yesterday or today from my son that he said there's no air conditioning. There's no air conditioning in that building or where he's at. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. And I mean, I don't know how many people are aware of that, but the fact that he said that there's other areas in the school that don't have air conditioning. But again, I think this is a great program. It draws in a lot of different communities that are actually training in many different facets of careers. If there is a means to put money towards there, I'm 100% on pushing this forward.
Thank you. Ryan.
Yeah, so my understanding of the Fox Valley Career Center is not specifically for our district or for the high school, or it's Fox Valley, right? So I think a lot more people have access to it than just our district. So I think when it came up in the discussions at that board meeting, was one of the big kind of pushback on it is, should our district taxpayers foot the bill to help make the improvements or do the different things, or should that be somehow come outside of not just our district? I don't have an actual answer on that. I do absolutely support the trades. I do support having this continued education that's maybe outside of the college, outside of the college path. I totally support it. Personally, I love doing my own projects. I wish I had a little bit more access to some courses like that when I was younger as well. I think it's vitally important, but I do understand where the discussion came up in the board meeting as to should our community be the only taxpayers, helping support this, or should there be a cost increase, or should we go to outside communities and see if they can help support as well? So that's my actual knowledge of it. As for the field house, it's a need versus a want thing, in my opinion. I think it's a want. I think it's really cool. Again, the facilities and the fields that they have here are way cooler than the stuff that I had growing up. But I don't think it's an absolute necessity. I don't think that it's going to really drive, what we're just talking about as far as student test scores and getting these kids re-engaged in learning and everything else like that. I think it'd be beneficial for a good chunk of the students, but from a whole, I think it's a want versus a need.
Thank you. Edmund.
On the field house, I agree very much that it's a want versus a need situation. I agree. I feel like elaborating would just be a little needless. Onto the career center, I have many friends who participate in the nursing and the automotive sections, and they loved it. It was an outlet to express themselves, and that was why they wanted to go to school that day. They wanted to get in with the cars and fix something with their hands, and I feel like it's a great opportunity. It makes this district unique and special, even though it's available to everybody. And I agree that we need to reach out to the other communities and see, well, if we all pool this money together, we can add this improvement, add the air conditioning and all that. I'm not putting money towards it now. It's operational now. It's working. Obviously, there could be some updates, but as of right now, it is a functioning program that works very well. Reaching out to communities and seeing what their participation in the Fox Valley Career Center, and if their taxpayers would be willing to foot the bill for that, is a great question to reach out and ask for. And I think the district should move forward with that in mind and wonder if there is need for more funding and go to other communities to see if they can help.
Thank you. I'm going to go to another audience question and staying in the same vein of finances. The question is, given the millions of dollars of capital projects that go unfunded each year and the low community interest as of now, do you feel that it's fiscally responsible to proceed with the Ignite Academy? What value do you feel Ignite is adding to the Kaneland School District? Let's start with Aaron for this one.
Can you say the question just one more time as far as the finances?
Sure. Given the millions of dollars of capital projects that go unfunded each year and the low perceived community interest, do you feel it's fiscally responsible to proceed with opening the Ignite Academy, and what value do you feel it adds to the school district?
So here's what when I look at finances and I see there's a lot of unfunded. Rather than start something new, I would reassess what's going on in the district. Where are the needs? If we have, like I said, we have needs and we have wants. I'd rather to focus on the detriment of the structure of the building, of, like we said, the Fox Valley Career Center, of current issues. I don't like taking funds and starting new things when there's still open-ended projects that need to be finished. I would also be a fan of just taking the funds, holding onto them until we have a collaboration of insight from the community, the students, what actually needs to be updated or fixed. But no, I wouldn't start on something new like the Night Academy. No.
Edmund?
It's the Ignite Academy. We don't know what it'll do. I'll be honest. We don't know. It may be the best thing that Kaneland has ever seen. It may be something that furthers and is a special event in every student's or some students' education. It might also not work. We don't know yet because it hasn't been implemented. And is it worth the risk, the financial risk, to open it to see if that is worth it? And at this time, like you said, we need to take a step back to go take 2 steps forward. And holding the funds is a very good idea. And assessing other district needs and seeing, well, it's worth the risk at this point, so let's take it. And if it's a great program, then fantastic. And it'll be known across the county for being a program that the district is known for and works well. But if not, then the taxpayers will demand answers. And those answers may be that we misappropriated funds for something that we didn't know if it would work or not. And we're here now. So I'd like to see more evidence to why it would work. I may not be the most updated on the Ignite situation, but I feel like we need to take a step back, hold the funds, and see where we are.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yeah, I believe I read that we had about $18.9 million in capital projects or expenditures that we were planning on over the next 5 years, and I think that's what really sparked the discussion of the referendum. I know initially the Ignite Academy was a part of that, and then it was kind of scrubbed last minute. I don't know specifics as to why, but I definitely I'm much more of in the class of like, let's do the stuff we need to do right now. Let's work on the things that need to be done. I'm much more interested in safe learning environment, infrastructure, heat, clean bathrooms. I know that part of the referendum too is the special needs program and setting it aside and carving out a better learning opportunity for special needs students. And I think that for me right now is what's right in front of us. I think that's more low-hanging fruit. Again, I'm not too familiar about the Ignite Academy, but I think there's plenty of expenditures that we need to attack right now, and it's something that we can table for the time being.
Thank you, Ryan. Another audience question. In the past, it's been perceived that school board decisions have been made out of fear for future funding from the state rather than the student's best interests? How much do you weigh state funding over safety or curriculum concerns? And how involved are you willing to get with state representatives on these issues? And I'll start with Ryan.
No, that's a great question, and that is definitely one of the other reasons why I wanted to kind of get into this is to understand what role the state plays, how they play a role in our district. What do we have to do? What specific things do we have to live up to get our state funding? So that's something I'm really excited to learn more about. As far as spending time with state representatives and to understand what we can do, what they can do for us, what we can do for them, and make sure that we're collaborate. It's something that I'm definitely passionate about. You know, and I think the second part of the question was at which threshold would we forego our students?
How much do you weigh how much do you weigh state funding over safety or curriculum concerns?
Safety in our kids' curriculum is what it's all about, right? But at the same time, I'm fully aware that state funding is something that's necessary too. Otherwise, this referendum's be a lot larger, or we're going to pay a lot more taxes than we already pay to be able to do that. So there's got to be a happy medium. But at the end of the day, the student safety in their curriculum and their opportunity to learn and to grow is by far the most important thing to me.
Thank you. Aaron.
Yeah, I'd say it's a balancing act. I think it's very important that we do have a relationship with the state because, again, we do get a lot of funding from there. But then we're dealing with taxpayer dollars. I am all about student safety, student curriculum. And again, this would be new to me, and I'm excited to work in this area too with the budgeting. But I think we really have to realize the amount of money that we're dealing with, and I feel that we need to appropriate it collectively. But again, I want to hear from the parents. I want to hear from the community what they feel it needs to go to best, how their kids are struggling. IEP, I think, is a great program that needs more funding. And again, I would just say it's going to be a balancing act. And it'll be interesting. I look forward to seeing, where the numbers stand, once we start putting things together.
Thank you. Edmund?
State funding is incredibly important. The taxpayers, which is everybody in the district, is responsible for it. And if we lose state funding, then the taxpayers will have to make up that. The faculty and staff are affected by all these issues, and without support from them, it'd be tough to get anything through. The safety and curriculum of the students is obviously paramount, but what safety and curriculum would strip state funding is questionable, and I believe that the state funding, we need the state funding, and the safety and curriculum, the students are provided with the safe and with the curriculum now, and we receive state funding, and I believe if we stay that will help the teachers out, that'll help the taxpayers, and everyone will stay that course.
Thank you. The next question is, absenteeism of board members has caused agenda items to be pushed back. This can easily be alleviated with consistent attendance. Are you committed to being a regular attendee of school board meetings? Aaron.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I have 3 students that are enrolled in the school system. 100%. I am, again, it's like the military. I knew what the dates were when I had to go to drill or had to be at a school or whatever. It's the same thing. I'm committed. I'm sacrificing my time. I will commit to be at every meeting. I'm just hoping and praying baseball and stuff doesn't interfere, but there's other people that can step up in that role. But I want to let everybody know that I'm taking this role seriously, and it's very important because I love my kids. I want a great education for them. So I plan on being there 100% of the time.
Edmund?
Yes, there's a reason I'm passionate about this, and there's a reason that I'm running for this position, and it's because I believe in the district, and if I didn't, then why would I be here? I will participate in every meeting, and I will make sure to obviously communicate if I cannot. The only faulty issues would be car troubles or anything like that. I don't have any commitments that would overtake this or would be anything over that. And so I commit to being a participant and learning at every board meeting and studying before every board meeting what the issues are, calling people, making sure what their opinions are, calling every side, teachers, parents, students, to see what their opinions are on ideas and come to board meetings prepared.
Thank you, Ryan.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a commitment. This is not something that that I can just kind of blow in and blow out of whenever I feel like it. This is something that's vitally important to everybody here, parents, communities, our students. So yeah, once I commit to something, that's what I'm going to be doing. Absolutely.
Thank you. Tagging on to that question, over the past couple of years, we've seen the school board defer decision-making to the administration and allow them to set guidelines and then proceed as they see fit, versus times when there was the ability of the school board to make a decision that might impact. What is your stance on decision-making, and what role do you feel the school board should be playing in critical policy standards for the district? Edmund.
Yes, the school board, like I said earlier, the point of the school board is to work with the administration against issues that the community is facing. And the school board is there for a reason. The reason is to give an opinion. And if it defers to the administration, then that's not doing it. We need to work with the administration and give the school board's opinion and work with the administration to achieve that goal.
Thank you. Ryan.
It's got to be collaboration for sure. And again, we're being elected into this position for a reason, you know, and it's to be a voice, and it's to be a checks and balance, and it's to be able to collaborate and work together. So yeah, I mean, I guess until the situation comes up where we would be asked to or discuss deferring, you know, to the administration, I don't know that I could answer that. No, that would never happen. There might be certain situations that I'm unaware of that it makes a lot more sense for the admin to run with it and take complete charge. But I have a strong feeling that there'll be a lot of discussion about that among the board before anything like that would just be turned over. But I think that's part of the job, right? Is to talk about all these things, to come up with the best solution that we can have. And I think, you know, more importantly is have good open line of communication with the administration. You know, I don't want to see it as, you know, as something we're trying to butt heads or take from each other. I think we should be working hand in hand as much as possible.
Aaron.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's going to be a balancing act. I don't feel the administration should have 100% control one thing and the school board should have 100% control another. I think it's just going to come down to you know, what the majority feels. But again, there's going to have to be a balancing act because the administration is going to be skilled in doing one thing, whereas the board may be better skilled at doing something else. So overall, again, we're not in this situation. We don't know. I don't personally know what scenario may come to arise, but I'm all about working things out, and you know what's going to be best is what's best for the school district. So
Thank you. At this time, I'm just going to ask if the audience has any more questions, so please submit those in. I have 2 questions remaining that we'll ask, and then we'll move to closing comments. It's been made known that community feedback is small compared to the number of community members and students in the district. And this is something that has been discussed not only by the administration, but also the school board and different committees, including the CAC. How do you think we could improve feedback from the community to get more community involvement with what's happening in the district? Let's start with Ryan.
No, that's a great question, because I'm one of those people who don't typically give feedback. I'm much more in a camp. I mean, even if something's wrong, I typically don't complain about it. If something's right, I typically don't complain about it or talk about it either. I think what Aaron was talking about earlier is getting out there and talking to people. Showing up in public places where we can have conversations with the community. As far as how we can promote, getting more community feedback, I'm definitely interested in researching how we could do that, how we can get some more understanding and information back from the community, so we know how we're doing, we know how they're feeling, we know what they want, we know what's going on inside of their homes with their kids and what they're talking about. At this point, though, I don't have an actual solution for getting more feedback.
Thank you. Edmund.
Feedback's obviously very important, and I believe the face-to-face aspect is necessary. Informal feedback's much easier than formal feedback. People don't like to take sides on some issues, but if you talk to them directly about an issue, they'll give you their opinion. And I feel if we go through community events, the theater play, a middle school basketball game, a high school football game, you can talk to a lot of folks and they'll give you answers. And although, unfortunately, this isn't going to be quantitative data where you can say, oh, parents support this measure, the teachers support this directive, it's important to get informal feedback and use that to further the district in a positive way.
Thank you. Aaron.
Yeah, I also agree. Community feedback is very, very important. And I can be honest too, when I get emails from the district, we just did the survey. I think it was like the third email I got, I finally was like, okay, I got to do this. I got to do it. I know emails are not the greatest way, but again, I'm just going to reiterate, it's a face-to-face. You can say surveys, but how many respond to surveys? Like I said, the emails is not great. I think it's just going to come down to it. It's just us as a board. I mean, please come to us. We want to know what's going on. The school wants to know what's going on. Like I said, if I'm out in the open, I'm picking my kids up, or I'm at an event, talk. That's what we need. I mean, we're in the age of technology, but we're still not using the technology to be able to get a feedback, to know what's going on, what the struggles are, what the policies you don't like. So it's a tough one, but I have to say, formal's great. Sporting events, anything, just face to face. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. The last question that I have, and I would first like to thank all of you for being here today. This has basically been an extended job interview. And the last question that I always ask when interviewing new candidates is, why should we hire you? Now, it's a little different here, but why should we vote for you? And I'll start with Edmund.
Yes. Like I stated in my opening statement, I have the perspective. I attended Kaneland schools for a very long time. I went to school here. I ate lunch at that table over there with all my friends from the neighborhood. And I grew up in an age of information where I understand that, if we implement this measure, the students are not going to react to that because they can just go on their phones and do something else. Or I can relate to the students and know what they're going to do because I was in their place not too long ago. And with this, I also have the perspective of the parents and teachers and taxpayers, and understand their issues and worries, and can synthesize all those into an idea that will further the community.
Thank you. Aaron.
I'm very passionate about my children's education, and I want to be in the game, and I want to know what is going on, how the policies are being worked. I'm a big supporter of parents being able to speak at meetings, parents being able to email us. Again, this is not just a short-term goal that I want to do, is just to do this one term. I'm investing my life into this. I'd love your vote, just to know that I will fight for you. I will fight for your rights. I will fight for your students' rights. I will fight for their mental and health, their well-being. I want to ensure that they have every tool available to be successful, and I want them to be praised for their hard work. You can count on me. I'm very open, transparent, very passionate, and as my wife can say, I'm pretty intense too. But I think this is just a great opportunity just to help this community, help the school district, and just to better the children for tomorrow.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, I want to work for everybody. You know, I want to work for the administration. I want to work for the teachers. I want to work for the other board members. I want to work for the students, and especially the parents in the community that are sending their students to our schools. You know, once I commit to something, that's what I do. And I absolutely love it. I absolutely love my children, and I want to see them succeed. I want to be a part of their lives. I want to be a part of all aspects. I mean, think about it. Like, most of us, when we go to work, like, most of our time is spent at work. And our kids come to school, most of their waking time is at school. And I want to know that they're learning what they need to learn. I want to know that they're comfortable in their own skin. I want to know that they feel safe and secure. I want to know they have opportunities to excel, to grow. I want to know they have opportunities to different resources inside of our house, but also at the school and outside of the schools. So I have a passion for being a part of and helping, and I'm a very service-oriented person. And being elected to this position, I will absolutely do everything in my power to serve not just my own children, but everybody involved.
Thank you, and thank you all. I'll turn it over to Kendra to close us out tonight.
All right. So thank you again for coming out tonight, candidates and everyone in the audience. And again, for those tuning in at home, we just want to thank you and give you one more kind of closing comment. I think we wrapped up great with what Chris had started, but if you have any last minute thing you want to include to anyone listening or watching, this would be the time. And if there's anything to add, please feel free to do so. Good?
Oh, I believe I can diversify and give a new perspective to the school board. I obviously am very young, and I will use the community's values to strive and put forth effort, which will continue the positive direction of the district, and through open communication and learning about the diverse perspectives of everybody that's involved in this, that I can analyze it and make decisions that reflect everybody's opinions.
Well, thank you again. Good luck. Thank you for everyone attending tonight. Have a safe trip home and